Hello, once again, audience, to a brand new episode of r/ProRevenge. My name is Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys today's top stories. Before I do, however, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button, as well as make sure you got notifications turned on. That way you could stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest. Our first story of the evening is brought to us by Board BSEE and is called Project Skunk, an engineer's tale. Decades ago, I worked the worst crap job of my life as a software engineer, writing code for an OBD2 car code scanner at a completely dysfunctional business I'm not going to name, but I will drop a hint and say that all of their products are all orange. It was right after 9/11. I was laid off and jobs were nearly impossible to find, but I managed to land one there, and out of desperation I took the job. And there I met probably the best friend I had ever made at work. I'll call him Agent S. Agent S was a coder's coder, a real laid-back guy, and an all-around good egg. Imagine if the dude could code. You'd pretty much have Agent S. We had many wonderful, overlong lunches working there. And I needed the calm he taught me, because that place was nuts! All the departments poisonously hated each other. The head of engineering was as paranoid as a Russian czar, rampant abuse, theft, the works. A total madhouse. But eventually, everyone has their limits, and Agent S had put in his 2 weeks' notice. Just to let you know how nice he was the only person that quit that wasn't escorted to his car immediately by an armed guard, which was standard procedure. He was permitted to put in his last 2 weeks. So imagine my surprise when Agent S said, "I want some payback before I go." Maybe a few days earlier, the paranoid czar of engineering gave us this odd missive. "When you leave your desk for any reason, you are to take your papers on your desk and lock them in your desk. You are to lock your computer. You are to put a password in your BIOS and shut down your machine when you leave for the night. You are to erase your marker boards. Leave no scrap of paper out or any hint of what you're working on." And no explanation why, which was standard for him. Just do it. Of course, we all wanted to know why, so our man in the field, who I'll call Bond, went about finding out. Bond was social and likable and had friends in every department in the increasingly balkanized organizational structure. "I'll ask around. Don't tell nobody." He found out. Engineering czar got word somehow that people in the sales department were working late and waiting for engineering to leave. Once we left, they were going through our desks and computers looking for clues as to what we were working on. They'd then copy this stuff down, claim it as a project I'm heading up, and present the material to their superiors so they could look valuable and get raises and all that fun sales stuff. Yes, I know, sales is supposed to query their customers for features they'd like, then make proposals to engineering. I did say this place is dysfunctional, right? Engineers drove the product design since sales couldn't be bothered. And why should they, when they could just steal it instead, right? So Agent S had had enough. We made Project Skunk. All projects in this place were named after an animal. We decided to leave a hint in the name that all was not as it should be, and we dreamed up the most amazing OBD2 scanner in the world. Here are some of the specs. Since everyone knows 32-bit processors are more expensive than 8-bit processors, we would save money by using a 2-bit processor. The EEPROMs that held the automotive database were expensive as well, so to save space, we would use zip to compress the database 12 times and store it on a single 4K EEPROM. Predictive analysis. If you enter the last few codes your car threw, it would extrapolate and tell you the next part on your car that was going to break. I thought of this one, and I'm especially proud of it. And so on. We spent a happy afternoon drawing up box diagrams with flux capacitors and n-dimensional grommets and yo-yo-dyne compensators. Lots of specs and analysis and other assorted bits of utter nonsense. We scattered them all over Agent S's desk, then went home. The very next day, our man in the field, Bond, gives us the news. "Project Skunk is a hit. The entire building's buzzing over it. Salespeople are tripping over each other taking credit." It took about a week before the stolen goods were finally passed upstream to the six-figure guys, before someone with half a clue noticed that everything in the project was absolutely fucking impossible. Agent S had left by then, but I tracked him down and we had lunch. I told him the results of the ill harvest he had left behind. Sales had been seriously embarrassed in front of their superiors, and the ones over them as well. I don't know if anything came of it. It was an old boys network there, and I'm sure they covered for each other somehow. But they were embarrassed, and they were hurt. How do I know? Every day from that day on, anytime a person from sales passed me in a hallway or something, they would physically turn their face from me to shun me. It was hilarious. Like somehow I'm the a-hole for making fake stuff for them to steal. They went under not too long after that. The building's now a medical company supplying COVID masks. And now, To See You Low presents Fate Helped Me Get Back at My Brother. My brother is 23, and we're twins. He's a mean guy, constantly doing messed up stuff to me, a 23-year-old female. But the worst thing happened 5 years ago. I got my first boyfriend when I was 18 and a senior in high school. I know we were young, but I really loved him. We'd been dating for 10 months when my brother randomly decided, for literally no reason at all, to make up a story about how he caught me cheating and tell it to my boyfriend. He planned it all out. He came up with details. He made it sound real. And because he's such a scarily good liar and a master manipulator, my boyfriend believed him. No matter what I said or did to prove it wasn't true, he believed my brother over me. My brother kept up with this act the entire time and refused to admit he was lying. At one point, I thought I'd finally gotten my boyfriend to believe me, but then he broke up with me a few months later and confessed it was because he still was convinced I had cheated on him and he couldn't move past it. He said, "The worst part is that you won't tell me the truth." And not to sound dramatic, but that still haunts me. I want to cry every time I think about it, and I still miss him to this day. Also, I think it's important to note that my brother has never once apologized. He is so insanely mean that he just thinks it's funny. I even asked him once if he'd considered hitting up my ex and telling him the truth for my peace of mind, and he just laughed at me. I never got over what my brother did, and I always told myself I was going to do the exact same thing to him one day. He's dated several girls since high school, but he had never been serious enough about any of them for me to consider tricking them. I knew it wouldn't hurt him like he hurt me if I just tricked one of his flings or something. But he finally got his first serious girlfriend last year, and after thinking about it for a long time, I decided I was going to do it. We live in different places now, so I had to do it all online. I used a different method than he did. I contacted his girlfriend, pretending to be the girl he'd been cheating with. I made up an elaborate detailed story like he did to me, and even photoshopped proof and whatnot. I made my story more believable than he made his. And exactly like he did to me, I went as far as denying it even to him, because I knew he might use my text/calls to prove to his girlfriend that this isn't true. He knew I was behind it, though solely because the girl I made up doesn't exist and there's no one else that would do this. But I just kept denying it. His girlfriend wholeheartedly believed me, and my brother kept calling and texting, begging me to give it up, even though I still wouldn't admit it was me. He was manipulating me and arguing that it's different because I was younger when he did it to me in my relationship. It wasn't serious, he says, but my relationship was serious. And like I said, I still miss my ex. My brother really messed me up. I have empathy, though, and he doesn't, and I was starting to feel bad for his girlfriend because she's innocent. I was kind of regretting everything and thinking that maybe I should tell his girlfriend the truth, for her sake and not his. But then, his girlfriend asked me a question, which led to her admitting that she's been suspicious of him for a long time. So I pried a little bit and encouraged her to look through his phone. She told me she couldn't because she didn't know the passcode and he wouldn't give her access to it. I guessed a few passcodes I thought it could be and gave them to her under the guise of seeing it once but not being sure which one I'd seen. That was kind of dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else to say and she didn't question it. She got in because it ended up being the same one he's had since 2012 when our dad got us iPhones and made us use the same passcode. Anyway, lo and behold, it turns out my brother actually cheated on her, and my setup was the reason she found out. He's been talking to and hooking up with multiple girls for pretty much the entirety of the relationship. I'm not surprised because he's a terrible person and cheating seems right up his alley, but I'm shocked at the same time. I literally can't believe how things worked out this perfectly. It feels like a dream or something. I hate to revel in his girlfriend's misery, but I was feeling guilty about her being collateral damage, so I feel like this is the best possible outcome. My lie ended up being the truth. Well, not exactly, but you know what I mean. I didn't scar his girlfriend or leave her with permanent damage for no reason. All my interference did was speed up the process of the truth coming to light. In fact, my brother may have been able to hide his cheating forever if not for me. He probably would have just manipulated his girlfriend or refused to give her phone access forever. She hasn't broken up with him, and I'm honestly not sure if she will. I don't know how relevant that is, but it attests to how manipulative he is. He screws people over all the time, but somehow always gets his way anyway. It's honestly infuriating and scary. Anyway, I'm still not going to admit to my brother that I'm behind it all, because there's no point. That would just get me in deeper trouble. I got a comment on my original post that said, "Deny till you die," and that's exactly what I'm planning on doing. Life's crazy. And now, our final story of the evening. Oopsies presents Homeowner Got What Was Coming to Him After Daily Harassment. I worked an engineering/construction job last year for a home builder, and we had to deal with a bunch of 5G anti-vaxxer health nuts moving into one of our neighborhoods. Constant complaints about the construction, the noise, the debris, which made no sense because they chose to move into the neighborhood before construction was completed. One man in particular would harass us daily, complaining about the streetlights being too bright. They weren't, and complaining about a generator we had running about a block away from him to power the site temporarily until we had the infrastructure in. The complaints ranged from the generator was damaging his hearing, which the thing was almost completely silent, or that the fumes of the generator were coming into his house and causing him and the kids to have stunted development. They'd come up with stuff that made little to no sense. It escalated quickly to the point where he got the city and the mayor involved, and we got sued, so we gave in to his requests and moved the generator to an inconvenient location and had to take the time and money to rewire to be able to power the areas needed. This was including important stuff like the streetlights. We had to leave off for a couple nights until the move was complete. And you guessed it, he would call to complain. The nerve of this man. So here comes the revenge. We received an order from the city to install a 5G tower on site to improve cellular connection because the area we were in had pretty bad service. Since my team and I were in charge of creating the plans to install the infrastructure, guess where we all simultaneously agreed to put the tower? Right smack dab in front of the angry man's house. We thought this was incredibly hilarious and couldn't stop laughing every time he would call, freaking out while the tower was being constructed. Got to the point where he tried to file another lawsuit. Got laughed away, and within a week, we never heard from them again. Moved out faster than the wind. Well, there you have it, folks. The end of the revenge. If you like these stories, be sure to leave a like on the video, as well as subscribe with notifications turned on so you could stay up to date with all our new videos. As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, uploading just about every single day, and I look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video.